Hey, it's Aiden. So today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about changes on testosterone. I've already made a video on this. If you haven't watched it, it's up here. That one is way more detailed. The only reason I'm making this one is to show you at 6 months what my voice and everything sound and look like. Otherwise, that video is literally all of the changes and a little more detail. This is more for comparison purposes. Plus, honestly, I feel like a lot of people who watch my YouTube videos don't follow me like on social media, so they don't actually see and hear what I sound like all the time, which is fine. So now you can be part of that. You can also go follow me on Instagram. Link is below in the description. Just saying, just throwing that out there. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. So this is what I sound like. So I think one thing I want to point out as well is sometimes when I'm talking, it's kind of hard to get the words out. I feel like I'm forcing it out, which means it kind of sounds lower sometimes. So it's weird. And then it goes back to like cracking and being high sometimes. It really just depends. I think the last video I uploaded on YouTube was about 3-4 weeks ago. So if you compare my voice in that video to now, that's like, 3 or 4 weeks difference. Plus, not to mention, like, I feel like everyone's voice changes at its own pace, right? So sometimes it'll be, peaks and valleys. Sometimes it'll just be a plateau, nothing crazy, maybe little changes. And then sometimes it's just like, boom, your voice is super deep. Everyone's journey is kind of different in that sense. I think that's part of the fun of, like, recording your voice. I think if you don't do that, even if it's just for yourself, do it. Because it's really crazy to hear when it changes, how it changes, that kind of thing. I have plenty of voice updates where I'm like, why does it sound deeper earlier and then the next one sounds like higher and then it sounds deep again? It's just part of the journey. Like maybe I recorded it at a point where it was like super dropping, or maybe I recorded it when I was like crazy tired and it's like more tired voice than it is voice drop, But it's fun to do that. I recommend doing it, at least for yourself. It's cool to look back on. But yeah, this is what my voice sounds like currently. I'm getting towards a point where I think that I'm more comfortable with my voice. If you haven't watched my other videos, my voice is one of my dysphoria points. It's not like crazy bad, but I also really just don't like my voice. Now I'm at a point where it's getting deeper and deeper and I'm getting more comfortable with it. Even though I know there's more to it and it will still keep changing, right now I've gotten to a point where it's like, even if it stopped changing, I would still feel pretty comfortable with it compared to how it was before. So I think that's pretty cool because it's only 6 months on testosterone. So I'm hoping that there's a point where I'm just like, dang, I love my voice. So maybe we'll get there and I will let you know. But right now I'm just more comfortable, and I would say, I don't know, just like satisfied with it, I guess. Like I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's just that middle ground, which is perfectly fine. I'm content with it. So that is my voice. I've also got, more facial hair. It's darkening. It's filling in some places. So one thing I will preface is a lot of changes that you go through are genetic based, but I feel like beard is that one that I really want to drive home with everyone. That is absolutely genetic related, because even like look at cis males. How many cis males have trouble growing facial hair? That's because it's genetic. Testosterone isn't like a magic juice that's going to just cause you to have a full-blown lumberjack beard, right? So if you can't grow one, I understand it can be frustrating, it can make you feel bad. I know that some people they like having it because it makes them feel like they pass as cis, like better, easier. But again, cis males have trouble growing in it, so if you can't, unfortunately, just a genetic factor, But yeah, so my facial hair, I have been growing it for a few months, and funny enough, I've actually trimmed it already, like a few times. So, that's just because right here on the sides, I get a ton of growth. Like it's always there. So it's getting to a point where if you would just do this, it was sticking out really far. and it just looked weird because the rest isn't that long and that thick. So I just trimmed it and made it really flat just because I wanted everything else to kind of catch up. Same with the bottom here, like if you can see, it's still patchy, but like right here I get a ton of hair, and it gets to a point where like if I do this, it like sticks out, you know what I mean? And I've trimmed this several times. I think that's probably where it grows the most. And then yeah, everything's kind of filled in here and there. So I have patch like here and then here. Funny part though is this is it's just blonde and white hair. Sorry, it's like really close to my face. But yeah, I have hair here. It's just light, so you can't really see it. This is a good example right here. Like look at my nail. Totally have hair there. Really difficult to see. Same with my mustache. Like you can see it, I can see it, but if it were darker, it would be a lot more prominent. So, I mean, that definitely, I wouldn't say bothers me, but sometimes I'm like, if I dyed my beard, you all would see my facial hair a lot more. So I contemplate dyeing it, but would that look funny if I dyed it? You know what I mean? So my wife had this genius idea. She said, why don't you like take some mascara, just put a little like on the hairs that are light and see what it looks like. So I did do that for transparency and for fun. I'm gonna show you. Keep in mind, it looks terrible because it's mascara, and I like just woke up and was like, I wonder what it looks like. So that's what it looks like, which, okay, proves my point, right? If you look at it, clearly if I dyed my hair or something, I would have more facial hair. But that's not the point. Point is, don't get hung up on that either. So, you know, I obviously have facial hair. It's growing and doing its thing. It's darkening even, but, you know, you don't need to go out and dye it. You don't need to get these different, like, kits to help grow hair, that kind of thing. You can, but ultimately, like I said earlier, it's really a lot of genetics at play. You know, I'm pretty sure I've got some blonde genetics somewhere in there. I know my sister has super light hair. I think I had lighter hair when I was younger. Weirdly enough, I came out with like dark hair, then I had like lighter hair, and now this is what it looks like. So I'm sure that's part of it. I don't need to consult my mom on that one. I will call her later and find that out. But yeah, so don't get hung up on it. I figured I would just show you what it looked like because, you know, why not? Other changes. So this one hasn't actually changed, but I want to point it out. Like Adam's apple. Some people's Adam's apple, like, is super prominent, comes out, you can totally see it. Mine, I think, like, I can feel it more. It's harder than it was before, but you can't really see it. There's plenty of cis guys with that same exact thing. Like, it's just where your like fat distribution goes. So I still have some fat here because my body's still kind of doing its thing. To me, I know my body overall is still changing. I don't think I've changed sizes in clothes in a while. I think I'm getting to kind of a point, but I think that's more just based on like working out and that kind of thing. I know that I mentioned this in my first video about changes. Again, if you haven't watched it, go watch it so you get a little bit more context. But bottom growth, I think it's more like, what's the right wording? Like stable, like it just kind of changes on its own. It's not quite as drastic. You don't notice it as much, but that still changes. Nothing crazy so far, so I guess we'll see about that one. Other than that, I don't think it's been too many other changes. I think if they are, they're very tiny and hard to notice. I think one other thing would be confidence, but I think that just comes with the territory of seeing a therapist, putting in work, self-reflection, and also like when you are presenting to society the way that you feel and look and want to be seen, you get this confidence, yeah, because you go from, I'm trying to think of a way to word it, like, I wouldn't say living a lie, but like not being your authentic true self because of whatever reason, and you finally are like embracing it and showing everybody who you are, you get this euphoria and confidence, and people can totally see that. But again, part of it's going to come down to putting in work and making sure that you are not letting outside factors bring it down. Obviously, that's easier said than done. Dysphoria, that's easier said than done. It happens, it's still going to happen. But if you just take that time, put in that work, see a therapist, do what you need to do, you will be so confident that people notice it, and comment on it, or, they see you differently. Some people are like, dang, they're good looking. And yeah, it could be your face for sure. But also I feel like that confidence makes people see you differently and feel differently towards you. So I absolutely think that testosterone is not a magic juice. It really just comes down to you and what you do to be your true authentic self. So those are my words of wisdom right now. Those are just the changes I have. About 6 months. It's voice, beard, body composition, that kind of thing. I will obviously update you if I experience anything else. But as of right now, that's pretty much what I've gone through recently. If you need to watch the other video, again, it's right here. Go check it out. And yeah, if you have questions, comments, concerns, leave them below and I will get back